A Commander Zex Thal of the Dominion fleet adjusted his crystalline headset nervously as he reviewed the reconnaissance data streaming across his console. The blue-green world rotating slowly before them looked deceptively peaceful, its primitive inhabitants blissfully unaware of the cosmic evaluation taking place above their atmosphere. "Initial assessment complete, Commander," reported his second-in-command, Lieutenant Vashka, her scaled fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Species designation, human. Technological level, pre-interstellar. Military threat assessment, negligible." Zex Thal nodded, his three eyes scanning the data with practiced efficiency. For over 2 millennia, the Galactic Dominion had been cataloging and managing primitive civilizations across the spiral arm. Humanity appeared to be just another entry in their vast database, young, aggressive, but ultimately harmless in the grand scheme of galactic politics. Standard protocols, then, Zex Thal decided. Deploy the inhibitor satellites. We'll keep them contained until they're ready for proper integration into the Dominion. Estimated time frame. Based on their current technological progression, approximately 800 of their solar cycles, Vashka replied. Perhaps longer if we introduce the usual complications. The inhibitor satellites, sleek, invisible constructs, designed to subtly interfere with technological advancement, began their silent deployment around Earth's orbital zone. Each one was programmed to create minor but persistent problems. Experimental reactors would inexplicably fail, space missions would encounter mysterious technical difficulties, and breakthrough discoveries would somehow lead to dead ends. It was a refined system, perfected over centuries of galactic management. Keep the primitives busy fighting among themselves and struggling with artificially imposed limitations, while the Dominion maintained its careful order across the stars. But Commander Zex Thal had made one critical error. In his haste to complete what seemed like another routine assignment, he had authorized the deployment without thoroughly reviewing the complete psychological profile of the target species. The report, buried deep in subsection 47C of the xenological assessment, contained a single line that would have changed everything. Notable species trait: extreme problem-solving adaptability when faced with external obstacles. Recommend caution. The first signs of trouble emerged within a decade. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in her laboratory at the International Space Research Consortium, staring at the debris from humanity's 7th failed Mars mission. Every attempt to establish a permanent presence beyond Earth had met with the same pattern of inexplicable technical failures: fusion reactors that worked perfectly on Earth but failed in space, navigation systems that developed mysterious errors, communication arrays that suffered from impossible interference patterns. "It's not random," she muttered to her colleague, Dr. James Morrison, who was analyzing fragments of the latest probe failure. "Look at this data. Every single malfunction follows a pattern. It's as if something is deliberately interfering with our technology." Morrison looked up from his microscope, his weathered face creased with concentration. "That's impossible, Sarah. You're suggesting some kind of external intervention." "I'm not suggesting anything," Chen replied, pulling up a holographic display that showed the failure patterns of the last 50 years of space exploration. "I'm stating a fact. These aren't random failures. They're targeted disruptions designed to keep us locked on this planet." Within months, Chen's theory had spread through the global scientific community like wildfire. The evidence was undeniable once examined objectively. Humanity was being deliberately contained. The question was by whom and why? The response was swift and unified in a way that surprised even humanity itself. Within 5 years, every major nation had contributed to the Emergency Space Initiative. Old rivalries were set aside as humanity united against what they now understood to be an external threat. Military budgets were redirected, the brightest minds were recruited, and a singular focus emerged: break free of whatever was holding them back, and find those responsible. Human ingenuity, freed from the constraints of profit and politics, proved to be more formidable than the Dominion had ever imagined. Where alien technology sought to create subtle failures, human engineers created redundant systems. Where mysterious interference patterns emerged, human physicists developed new theories and countermeasures. Every obstacle became a puzzle to be solved, every failure a lesson to be learned. Dr. Chen, now director of the Global Breakthrough Project, made the discovery that changed everything. Deep in an underground facility in Switzerland, her team had finally isolated and analyzed the source of the interference. Microscopic artificial constructs operating on quantum frequencies, invisible to conventional detection, but definitely of non-human origin. "We're not alone," she announced to the emergency session of the Global Council. "And whoever they are, they've been keeping us in a cage." The breakthrough came 23 years after the satellite's deployment, far ahead of even the most optimistic projections. Humanity had not only overcome the technological barriers, but had developed quantum detection technology that could identify the inhibitor satellites. More importantly, they had reverse-engineered enough of the alien technology to trace its origin point. Commander Zex Thul received the emergency transmission as he was reviewing deployment schedules for 3 other primitive worlds. The message was brief and devastating, "Sir. The humans have broken containment. They've identified our satellites and, sir, they've launched something in our direction." The something was the Retribution Fleet, 12 ships, powered by revolutionary quantum drives that humanity had developed in their desperate effort to break free of alien interference. Each ship carried the combined technological achievements of a species that had been forced to evolve at an accelerated pace, driven by the knowledge that their freedom had been stolen. As the human fleet approached the Dominion outpost, Zex Thul finally accessed the complete psychological profile he should have read decades earlier. The warning was clear: when challenged or confined, humans didn't just adapt, they transformed threats into opportunities, obstacles into innovations, and enemies into cautionary tales. The last transmission from the outpost was simple: "Command, this is Outpost 7. The humans are requesting our surrender. I recommend we comply. They're not the same species we catalogued 23 years ago. We made them into something else." Humanity had been underestimated once. The Galactic Dominion would ensure it never happened again, not because they planned to try, but because they now understood that humanity's greatest strength emerged precisely when someone tried to contain it. The cage had been broken, and what emerged was not the primitive species that had been locked away, but something far more dangerous, a species that had learned, in the space of mere decades, that the universe was not empty, that they were not alone, and that freedom was something worth fighting. For across the stars, the age of human expansion had begun, born not from natural progression, but from the fire of justifiable wrath.